Riley's roommate's boyfriend wanted her to get a succubus sigil tattooed on her lower stomach. Riley had warned her that the symbol carried bad energy. It literally meant marking yourself as someone else's slave. After Riley talked her out of it, the roommate gave up on the tattoo and broke up with the guy. But later on, her ex's background was supposedly leaked. Word around campus was that he was loaded, major trust fund money. The roommate regretted everything and went crawling back to beg for a second chance, but her ex had already married someone else. The roommate was consumed by regret and bitter hatred. She took all that resentment out on Riley. She drugged Riley, knocked her out, and had someone tattoo a steaming pile of dog shit right on her face. Riley couldn't live with the disfigurement. She eventually sank into a severe depression and took her own life. When she opened her eyes again, she was back. She was back on the exact day her roommate was supposed to get the tattoo. Riley took one look at the tattoo design. Yeah, it looks really good. That design featured a pair of hot pink little wings. It was actually spliced together from several smaller, distinct symbols. Every single one of those micro designs had a highly specific, degraded meaning. Riley wondered if Lexi could actually handle the weight of what those symbols meant. A succubus tattoo was just step one for getting into that kind of extreme subculture. The stuff that came after it was the truly terrifying part. Riley, why don't you come with me? I'm terrified of the needle. I'd feel so much better if you were there. Lexi grabbed Riley's arm and shook it, acting cute. Riley immediately yanked her arm back. The agonizing memories of her previous life flashed right behind her eyes. The thought of that repulsive tattoo on her face made her physically sick. In her last life, she genuinely felt like a monster. She had only meant well. And she ended up paying for it with her life. In this life, if it had anything to do with Lexi or Trent, Riley wasn't touching it with a 10-foot pole. I'll pass, I've got things to do. Why doesn't Trent just go with you? Riley shot her down flat. Lexi looked visibly annoyed. Riley, why are you being so cold? And here I thought you were my best friend in the world. Did you forget who took you to the ER last semester when you had that allergic reaction? Riley didn't say a word. She just sat there, scrolling on her phone. Last semester, when she went into anaphylactic shock, Lexi was indeed the one who took her to the hospital. That part was true. But the only reason Riley had the allergic reaction in the first place was because of Lexi. Riley had a severe pollen allergy. Everyone in the dorm knew it. They were all super careful and never brought flowers into the room. But that day, Lexi hauled a massive bouquet of fresh roses straight into the dorm. Riley immediately couldn't breathe. She collapsed right on the floor. Lexi actually thought she was faking it as a joke. She even shoved the bouquet right in Riley's face to make her look at the flowers. It wasn't until Riley completely blacked out that Lexi finally panicked. She ran to the dorm next door, dragged a few other girls over. And they hauled Riley to the ER. To sum it up, if it wasn't for Lexi, Riley never would have gone into anaphylactic shock. It was the ultimate gaslighting, seeing that Riley wasn't going to budge, and with Trent calling her phone to hurry up. Lexi grabbed her purse. She stormed out, slamming the heavy dorm door behind her so hard the walls shook. After she left, Mia leaned over from her desk. Riley, you finally see the light? Tara nodded in agreement from her bunk. I honestly thought the second she threw a tantrum, you'd cave and go with her. When the semester first started, Riley had actually been on good terms with her other two roommates, but as the weeks went on, Riley kept noticing her expensive cosmetics were being used. A brand new jar of premium face cream would be half empty the day after she bought it. Lexi had pulled Riley aside and secretly whispered that Mia and Tara were the ones stealing it. She claimed they were just jealous of Riley's family money. Riley had been furious at the time. She got into a massive screaming match with Mia and Tara, completely burning those bridges. For months, they basically lived in silence. But later on, Riley happened to be in the communal bathroom stalls. She overheard Lexi gossiping with a girl from another floor. Riley is so easy to manipulate. I'm the one using all her la mer. I just pointed the finger at the other two, and she bought it instantly. She's such a gullible idiot. That was the moment Riley realized she had been played the entire time. Looking at Mia and Tara now, Riley felt a deep wave of guilt. She sat down and finally cleared the air, explaining exactly how she had misunderstood them back then. Tara patted her shoulder. It's fine. As long as you finally see Lexi for who she really is, we're good, Riley nodded. In this life, she was going to sit back and let Lexi swallow her own poison. That night, Lexi came back to the dorm humming a pop song. She looked like she was in a fantastic mood. Riley, check out my tattoo. It looks incredible. She walked right up to Riley's desk. She pulled her shirt up to show off her bare stomach. Looks amazing, right? I even tipped the artist extra to make the outline bigger. The design took up her entire lower abdomen. The violent, saturated hot pink looked incredibly unsettling against her skin. Looks fine, Riley said, completely deadpan. Lexi was not happy with the lack of enthusiasm. Riley, what is your problem today? I am the only real friend you have on this campus. You should appreciate me. She had some serious main character syndrome. Riley wondered how pathetic she must have looked for Lexi to think she was her only option for a friend. I'm officially ignoring you. Unless you let me use that new La Mer eye cream you bought on Black Friday. And the Essence toner. Lexi craned her neck, trying to peer into Riley's cabinet. Riley stayed in her chair reading her textbook, completely ignoring her. Lexi actually thought she still had access to the high-end stuff. She was out of her mind. Riley had already packed all her premium skincare away before Lexi even walked in the door. Tara couldn't take the audacity anymore. She had probably never met someone with so little shame. If she's ignoring you, that means no. Are you really too dense to pick up on that? Lexi snapped her head around. I'm talking to Riley. What does this have to do with you? Mind your own business. The shrieking was giving Riley a headache. Lexi, Tara isn't wrong. Me not answering is me saying no. Lexi pointed a shaking finger at Riley. You just wait, Riley. You'll be begging me for favors soon. She spun around and bolted out of the room. She didn't come back to the dorm the entire night. She was definitely with Trent. The next morning, the three of them grabbed breakfast at the dining hall and headed to the lecture hall. Lexi walked in right as the bell rang, trailing behind Trent. The only open seats left were dead center in the front row. They had no choice but to sit there. This was Ethics 101. The professor was a hard-nosed, tenured guy pushing retirement. He was incredibly strict. Nobody dared to breathe too loud in his class. The massive hall was dead silent. Right in the middle of the lecture, Lexi suddenly stood up from the front row. She started barking like a dog, and while she was barking, she started taking off her clothes. The barking instantly ripped the attention of all 200 students in the room. Naturally, that included the old professor at the podium. He jumped so hard his reading glasses rattled on his nose. The students were stunned in silence for about 2 seconds before the whispering erupted. Is she having a psychotic break? Oh my god, this is so embarrassing. Is that guy next to her her boyfriend? If I was dating her, I'd dump her right now. The chatter in the hall got louder and louder, but Lexi didn't show any signs of stopping. She had stripped down to a thin camisole, still barking rhythmically. When her fingers hooked the hem of the camisole, she hesitated. She turned to look at Trent sitting next to her. Trent just stared back at her with a completely dead, emotionless expression. It was like he was watching a stranger on TV. The old professor slammed his heavy textbook onto the podium. You, young lady, have you absolutely no shame? He roared, his voice shaking with outrage. Lexi looked uncertain, her eyes darting back to Trent. Trent still looked entirely unbothered. Seeing that she wasn't backing down, the professor's face turned a dangerous shade of purple. He was panting, his glasses fogging up with rage. Trent slowly reached up and tapped his own nose with his right hand. Lexi saw the signal. Her fingers tightened on the hem of her shirt again. The professor saw she was about to keep stripping and his chest heaved violently. He pointed a trembling finger at her, trying to scream, but no words came out. His eyes rolled back and he collapsed behind the podium. The second the professor hit the floor, panic broke out. Students rushed the front to check his pulse. People were dialing 911, running into the halls for help and holding up phones to record the chaos. At that point, nobody gave a damn about Lexi. She let out a massive breath of relief and quietly sat back down. Mia leaned over to Riley. Has she completely lost her mind? Doing that in front of a packed hall? Tara sighed heavily. Well, our dorm is famous now, and I guarantee this is just the warm-up. God knows what else Trent is going to brainwash her into doing. The rest of the lecture was a total wash. It essentially turned into a free study period. The second class was dismissed. Lexi was hauled straight to the dean's office. Trent didn't even pretend to wait for her. He just met up with his frat brothers and headed to the dining hall. Lexi didn't make it back to the dorm until late that night. The second she walked in, the complaining started. The dean was forcing her to write a massive formal apology letter. The three of them ignored her. Lexi sidled up right next to Riley's chair. Riley, why didn't you wait for me today? Riley brushed her off with a generic excuse. Lexi slammed a stack of blank-lined paper down on Riley's desk. You're the best, Riley. Write the apology letter for me. She leaned her weight against Riley's arm, dropping into that cloying, whiny tone. She was like a wet piece of plastic wrap. The second Lexi touched her, Riley felt a wave of visceral, biological disgust. It's your disciplinary action. Write it yourself. Riley forcefully peeled her arm out of Lexi's grip. Lexi had been rejected by Riley multiple times lately, and after getting grilled by the dean all afternoon, her rage finally hit the ceiling. She swung her arm violently, sweeping everything off Riley's desk. A complex Lego set Riley had been building for half a month shattered across the linoleum floor. Plastic bricks scattered everywhere. Lexi screamed at Riley like a lunatic, pointing fingers and throwing insults for 5 straight minutes. Then she grabbed a jacket and stormed out. Tara was furious on Riley's behalf. "Riley, you spent weeks on that. You shouldn't have let her just walk out of here after doing that." Riley crouched down and calmly started picking up the plastic pieces. Lexi's little power trip wasn't going to last long, because Trent was a pure psychopath. Karma was going to handle her. Riley didn't even need to get her hands dirty. 3 days later, Lexi came back to the room. The three of them just watched her walk in, then went back to whatever they were doing. Nobody said a word. Lexi completely flipped her attitude. She put on a sickeningly sweet voice. "I brought fresh egg tarts from the bakery down the street. You guys gotta try them." None of them wanted her food. They were half expecting her to have laced it with something toxic. She brought the bag right up to their faces. But all three found an excuse to pass. Riley assumed Lexi was going to explode again. Surprisingly, she just calmly set the bag aside. She went to the bathroom to wash up, climbed into her bed, and went to sleep early. For a whole string of days, Lexi came back early and didn't start a single fight. They were genuinely confused. Had Lexi actually snapped out of it? Riley's gut told her that trash doesn't change its smell. A week later, that gut feeling proved dead right. Riley and Mia were in the communal showers. Mia ran out of shampoo and asked to borrow Riley's. Riley handed a fresh bottle over the stall divider, after Riley finished and was drying off. Mia stepped out of her stall. "Hey, your shampoo smells really wrong. Like, I can't even describe it. Just wrong." Riley was thrown off. Her shampoo was a premium sandalwood scent. It shouldn't smell weird at all. She took the bottle back and held it up to her nose. Mia was right. There was a distinctly chemical, foul undertone to it. Was it expired? She checked the dates. Not even close. She bought it direct from the brand site. So it wasn't a counterfeit. A dark thought suddenly hit her. She quickly popped the caps on her body wash and her facial cleanser and took a deep breath. Sure enough, every single bottle had that same sickly, unfamiliar odor. Mia lowered her voice. "Do you think the psycho messed with your stuff?" Riley was already certain of it, but they had zero proof. Confronting her would be a total waste of breath. To be safe, Riley took all her shower gear, locked it inside her personal locker, and took the key. Mia had to go back into the shower and wash her hair 3 more times to get the stench out, realizing they needed to lock the room down. Riley ordered a discreet Wi-Fi camera online and mounted it facing the door. Next time something happened, she'd have the receipts. Things were quiet for a few days. Lexi went out on dates during the day and came back to sleep at night. She seemed to have accepted that her roommates treated her like a ghost. One evening, she came back unusually late. Only a single desk lamp was on in the room, keeping things dim. Lexi walked in, passing Mia's bunk. Mia suddenly let out a sharp gasp. "Lexi, have you completely lost your mind?" Hearing the commotion, Riley and Tara poked their heads through their privacy curtains. Lexi scoffed. "You're the crazy one. I'm just showing the world who I belong to." "You wouldn't get it." That was when Riley finally got a clear look at her. Lexi had Trent's name tattooed directly in the dead center of her forehead. The bold black ink aggressively destroyed her normally pretty face. "Lexi, aren't you planning on applying for corporate internships?" Tara asked, stunned. "You're never going to pass an interview looking like that." Lexi sneered. "Let me educate you. I don't ever need to work, and I don't need to study. If you knew the kind of money Trent's family has, you'd realize I won the lottery." Riley stared at her. How did Lexi even get the idea that Trent was rich? Did she loop back in time too? But if a stupid person gets reborn, they're still just a stupid person. What kind of sane human gets a name blasted across their forehead? Willingly branding yourself as someone's property was pathetic. Lexi genuinely didn't see anything wrong with modifying her body like that. Over the next few days, every time she came back to the dorm, she had fresh ink. She showed up with shrimp lines down her spine, eye symbols, and random occult imagery scattered across her skin. One afternoon, Lexi strutted into the room holding a shopping bag from an ultra-luxury brand. She shoved it in their faces, bragging that it was the newest seasonal bag Trent had bought her. After parading it around the room, she still wasn't satisfied. She marched down the hall to show it off to the other dorms. The second she left, Mia leaned over. "That bag is 100% fake. My mom bought the authentic version last week. The monogram alignment on Lexi's is completely off." Riley frowned. "It was just a purse. Why couldn't Trent afford a real one? She couldn't figure it out until the memory finally clicked. Trent wasn't a trust fund kid at all. Lexi only thought he was a billionaire because she saw him driving a Rolls-Royce Cullinan across campus one day. The frat guys had swarmed the car and Trent had soaked up the attention, looking like a god. But that Cullinan actually belonged to Jared, Trent's roommate. Trent had begged Jared to let him take it for a spin. That was the moment Lexi fell for the illusion, and Trent never bothered to correct her. Riley decided to let Lexi ride that delusion all the way to the bottom. If she wanted to play the billionaire's submissive, she could deal with the consequences when the bill came due. If you think a forehead tattoo is the peak of Lexi's public humiliation, you haven't seen her on a date. Part 2 is where the birthday cake hits the floor and the internet finds out exactly what Trent is doing.